So this whole AI-empowered iPad that we're supposed to be getting on May 7th at the Let Loose event, it's a complete scam. I don't understand why everybody's so hype about it. And even if Apple does bring AI to the forefront with this iPad, it's not even a real feature. So I'm gonna explain why, along with some other things. But first, gotta make sure you like, subscribe, and click the bell. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's the Granite Geek Show. So as I said, we're going to talk about why this AI iPad Pro thing is nothing to get super excited about, folks. But we're also going to talk about my wish list, which could be very exciting. And then we're going to talk about what's probably realistically going to happen in the event. But first, quick announcement. I'm still working out the details on how I'm going to be covering the event. I'll probably end up going live on Tuesday, so you guys can watch it there with me, probably on X, probably on YouTube as well. But an official announcement regarding that will be out on Monday. So keep it locked here. Go follow me over on X, aka Twitter, to get updates on that. Okay, so let's talk about this AI iPad sort of thing. First of all, any AI implemented on the iPad Pro would come via what? It would come via software. And that software would obviously not be exclusive to the iPad. So first, if there's this new AI-powered iPad, it's just going to be an AI-powered iOS and iPad OS. And we don't need a super honkin' powerful M4 chip to do that, as plenty lesser chips already do a great job with ChatGPT and all its various apps. And it does that through the cloud via your internet connection. And it does that pretty fast and efficiently. Even at its worst, it's still miles better than what Siri is currently doing. So it wouldn't be an exclusive iPad feature. So I don't know why it's being so attached to the iPad, other than the fact that it may be debuted on the iPad. And that wouldn't actually be too unrealistic. They debut a lot of things with iPad. Let's not forget that the 2018 iPad Pro basically redesigned all of Apple's design language, from the iPhone to the Mac, all doing that rounded corner thing. And that design largely hasn't changed. So debuting new technologies and form factors with iPad, I think, is a realistic expectation. But ultimately, if it's not exclusive to the iPad, we can't really call it an iPad feature. Now, before we get to what we can realistically expect from this event, I want to just briefly talk about my iPad wish list. And it's very short. You're not going to see this big rundown of all these different things. You can find that anywhere on the internet. It's one thing. There is one thing holding the iPad back, and it is indeed software. Apple needs to combine iOS, the best of iOS and the best of macOS, into one Apple OS. And I explain this in detail in my previous video. I'll leave the link to it down in the description below. But that's really all that I want. It's got the ultimate form factor. I can have it as a tablet whenever I want, with the pencil whenever I want. Or I could drop my pencil. I can also dock it magnetically into a case like this with a keyboard and a trackpad that is glass and smooth. It's amazing. By the way, if you want to know where I got this case, people keep asking me about it. I'll put the link to that down in the description. But this thing is amazing. Hey, Apple, have you noticed nobody's really complaining about anything physical with the iPad? Are they saying it's too weak? No. Are they saying it's too heavy? No. Are they saying the screen is not great? No. We'll get to that a little bit later. The only complaints that I've heard are software-based complaints. So I would really like to see that improve. But with that, let's segue into what's actually realistic to expect for this event. And unfortunately, folks, an updated OS, a revamped OS, is probably not in the cards. Of course, we'll likely see the debut of the M4 chip. It's going to be super powerful, introduce the next generation of Apple Silicon, all that kind of stuff. Plus, it would put Apple back on track, because the M1 was in 2021, but now we're in 2024, and the M3 would throw that off. So if they do the M4 in 2024, that would be cool. And it's also irrelevant. Number two, that OLED display. They could get rid of the current display, which I don't think anybody has any issues with. Yes, there were some blooming things. Does it do that? Yes, it still does that. I don't really care at this point. It used to really annoy me, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I don't know why. But a change to OLED would really improve the viewing experience for those who are doing creative work, as well as just consuming content. There could be better battery life. I don't really struggle with battery life on the iPad Pro. So, I mean, as the device gets older, sure, the battery life gets shortened, but I think that's going to happen with even the new battery that they put in this thing. So honestly, unless it's a drastic improvement, I don't really care about that. Now, I kind of lied earlier when I said nobody's really complaining about physical traits. There's one physical thing that people do want to see the iPad change, and that is the position of the camera. Nobody uses the iPad in portrait mode, unless they're drawing, right? And that doesn't require the camera. Most of the time it's in laptop form or in some kind of tent mode or whatever. Either way, it's horizontal. And having the camera horizontally placed on the iPad would make it much better for FaceTime instead of looking always like you're slightly away from the camera or slightly off angle to the camera. So I think that would be great. Also, new Apple Pencil. I don't really see a need for an upgrade with the Apple Pencil. Maybe longer battery life. The thing already lasts stupid long, so they could do that. They could also, of course, improve the Magic Keyboard. I'm not really a fan of the Magic Keyboard myself. I love keyboards like this. Again, the link's down below. It's got that clickety-clackety feel. It's actually backlit too, if you want, and it also resembles the MacBook Pro with a nice smooth glass trackpad that doesn't have the mouse like being jittery everywhere. So I enjoy that. They could change the keyboard to look more like a Mac. I think that would be fitting, as I hope that the iPad makes a closer move to being more Mac-like, in terms of accessories at least. But honestly, folks, that's it. I really don't see them doing much more to the iPad Pro. I mean, it's going to be some hardware improvements, some quality of life changes, but nothing really drastic. I mean, if there's a software update, they might try and refine the file system, which is a point of pain for a lot of people, myself included, using the iPad Pro. But from there, maybe we could see a few other things. I don't think we'll get an updated Apple TV. I don't think we're going to get AirPods 4 or anything. Those things are starting to look long in the tooth, but everything's pretty good right now. Mac Mini, all that kind of stuff. Now is the time to do it, because anything they don't want to release during WWDC, but they don't necessarily want to put in just a press release, they need to get out in this spring event. So it might end up being kind of a junk drawer of Apple releases, but with the iPad as kind of the main stage event, which could actually be a lot of fun in terms of just a jam-packed event. But I'm sure we'll see updates on, you know, Apple HomeKit. They love talking about that. They love talking about how Apple Watch saves people's lives and stuff. So we're probably going to get some of that. But we'll have to wait and see for all that stuff. The iPad is really what we're coming to see. But we'll just have to wait and see for that. The iPad is really what everybody's coming to see. And again, I'll be trying to go live on Tuesday. If you want to watch that with me, I'll be doing live commentary probably on X as well as YouTube. So stay tuned. I'll make an official announcement about that on Monday. But that's going to do it for this video. Guys, if you like the channel, go ahead and like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss we cover your favorite tech. I'm Chris Grant Jr. It's The Granite Geek Show.